Oh God. The driver had a pint glass in his right hand, which to be fair was three quarters full, his trousers around his ankles, and he was steering the van with his bare knees. Oh, for fuck's sake. Spot three people in a phone box and decide to see what's going on. All three, two males, one female, were completely naked. So we get out the car and amble up. So, anything happening tonight, folks? Not really. We're just out getting a bit of air. Yeah, all right. It is taking every fibre of my being not to scream, get a fucking grip at people who are quite clearly experiencing a minor trauma themselves. Thousands of people listen to this podcast every single month. However, only a fraction of those people actually follow and rate the podcast. Can I ask you a favour? If you want this podcast to keep on growing, if you want these stories, the advocacy for emergency services, and giving a voice to the emergency services to continue, please follow, like, and rate the podcast. It helps more than you know, and it helps the podcast to grow. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jobs Fucked podcast with me, your delightful host, Mr. J. Dirkmore. I got chatting to a lad recently, and what is it with people from St. Helens, right? Because St. Helens isn't too far away from I am. Now, if you know the Northwest at all, so you got Manchester, then you got Liverpool, aren't you? And everyone sounds like, oh, lad. Like, that was a terrible Liverpool Scouse impression anyway. But St. Helens is like quite near Liverpool. So I remember I saw a reel recently. It said like, it said, why do people from St. Helens sound like they're from proper deep Lancashire? Like, you're right there, cock. How are you, mate? He's like, no, you're supposed to be from like near Liverpool. So what's going on? So if there's anyone from St. Helens listening, because I've got a mate who's from St. Helens, and he talks like this. You're right, pal. How are you? How you doing, mate? I'm like, are you from fucking Scousland? Anyway. If you're from further afield and overseas, that probably doesn't make any sense to you. And you know what? Normally I'd say, oh, I've had way too much coffee before I started this, but I'm pissed off because I've just gone to make myself a coffee, right? Just gone to make myself a coffee, and I've not pissing got today. I've just got tea instead. And even worse, it's decaf tea. Not even caffeine. So, some may say it's pointless drinking it. However, little decompression tip, little well-being tip for you, because this is what we're here for, isn't it? We're here to make sure everyone's all right and everyone's having a good time. In the evening, if you're struggling to unwind, you're struggling to relax, I would always recommend just having a decaf tea. It's nice, it's soothing, it's good for you. Um, Settles you down, takes you under like a nice baby. Okay, so we have got lots of good things in store for you today on this marvelous podcast. And I would also like to thank you to everyone who is a new listener. Thank you to everyone who is helping this podcast to grow. And as always, guys, if you want this podcast to grow, you want this advocacy for emergency services going out to reach the four corners of the globe, I'd reach more people. I love hearing messages when people say, "Oh, I'll listen to you on the way to work," or "I'll listen to you when I'm on scene guard as well." As if a scene guard wasn't bad enough, you got me in your ears as well. But I totally appreciate if you guys just, hey, there's this fucking podcast. It's some bloke from the Northwest who chats utter shite in relation to the job, and people send him in loads of content, and it's rants, it's stories, it's fun stuff, and that is exactly what we've got today, ladies and gentlemen. So we have. Oh, also, of course, if you want to support the podcast, as well as telling somebody, you can rate it on Spotify, you can follow along on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to it. You can also check out Best Selling Police Memoir there, which is a book about my time with the police, and it's got lots of funny shit in it as well as like some stuff which is actually really serious. Hit the bestseller list a couple of times. So if you guys want to help me keep doing what I'm doing, then by all means do that. There's also Jobs Fucked official merchandise. All of this is in the description of this video, and it's all in the show notes as well. It all means a lot when people do purchase something, and it just helps me to, not get a real job, to be honest. So okay, so if you do have anything you want to submit, a funny story, a rant, an accolade, anything like that, then it's all anonymized, as I'm sure you know by now. Just Instagram, the Jobs Fuck Podcast, or email in at thejobpod25@gmail.com. And of course, as always, you can support me on Patreon. It could cost like £4 a month, something mad like that, like next to nothing. People spend more on OnlyFans. Sadly, OnlyFans is not coming just yet. Not just yet. Okay. And also, if you are a Patreon, you get these episodes before anyone else, as well as other videos on like my other main channel, my wellbeing channel, which I've now set up. And yeah, I want to quickly plug that. I have I want to look after police officers. I want to look after paramedics, shift workers in general. So I've built a shift-proof community, which you can find in the link of this episode. It's a dedicated community filled with resources, guides, workouts, communities, other people in there. We do currently got a month February workout on the go at the minute, so everyone's chipping away at that. Everyone's like a February challenge, so everyone's chipping away at that. It's just a great place to be. Great place to be. I've got lots of people. I've got a few people in there now. Lots of people have messaged me saying, it's really, really good. It's not that expensive. At the time of recording this, it's £14 a month. It's not that expensive. You pay more for Netflix to stay up late at night, and watch utter shite. Speaking of which, Stranger Things. I really enjoyed Stranger Things, but that ending, what was all that about? It was okay. It was okay. But it's like the Game of Thrones ending as well. When you have a show that big and people wait that long, I feel like no matter what they do, it won't be as good. But I feel like Stranger Things, they particularly sold us short on that one. And I binged it as well. I binged it all in a couple of months. So I can't imagine the reaction, how you would have felt if you're waiting 2 pissing years for that final season. Okay, so you know what? We'll just crack on. So we have a poem today from some of what someone sent through. We have a poem. We have I got a couple of emails through. I've got some funny stories. What people message me on the old Instagram. So lots and lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff going ahead. So first, the story of the week is somebody sent this in. And, a little bit of a serious one. But of course, we need to address these sorts of things too. So, the story of the week is I can't recall if you've covered it, but given my message, very grateful for your response. How do you keep empathy and a cool head on shift when a colleague's committed suicide? The key, but I'm asking, is keeping empathy. It is taking every fibre of my being not to scream, get a fucking grip at people who are quite clearly experiencing a minor trauma themselves. Don't you hate it when people interrupt for an advert? So do I, which is why this won't take more than 20 seconds. If you're a shift worker, you're struggling with stress, struggling with food, find yourself really, really stressed all the time, then join my shift proof community. You get a 7-day free trial, and you also have me in that community supporting you, answering your questions, offering guidance and support. There's also a shit ton of videos and resources in there too, completely included in your membership. Scan the QR code on the screen right now. I'll click the link in the description of this video. Thank you very much. Back to it. So there's a couple of things to this. We deal with a lot of people who frankly, they didn't get the parents what they needed, so we then have to come and parent them. It's a very sad thing to say and a very unfortunate thing to say, but unfortunately, that is the way of the world. And that is the nature of what we do. But also, we have to understand that we do this job to help people. That help looks different to other people. And what we may see as a trivial issue may be massive to somebody else. But also, when you, but perspective is a big thing, isn't it? I've dealt with plenty of people who've like, they're coming down from a fucking drug come down for God's sake, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm gonna end my life." It's like, you're on a drug come down. This is your own doing. This is why you feel so terrible. Then there's also things like we can experience real serious hardships. I mean, somebody, a colleague, a friend, someone ending their life, that's it's about as awful as it gets. And we just want to empathize that. I've known colleagues that have ended their lives. I've known people in my personal life that have ended their lives. It's there's like nine and tens in life, which of like things will just absolutely rock you. And as police officers in the emergency services, we will experience a lot more of those. We will experience and witness those significant traumatic events. So, the first thing I would say is you have to take care of yourself too, because you can't help other people. And that doesn't just go for the job, but it goes for your own life too. Is you can't help other people if you're not great yourself. It's that whole thing of pouring from an empty cup. If you've nothing to give, then you can't give anything. So you have to make sure you're okay first. And there is times where you need to put yourself first and take care of yourself. Which is obviously part of the community thing we'll talk about, and the one-to-one stuff that I do with emergency service workers now is that taking care of yourself. You have to put yourself first sometimes. There's also something called allostatic load, which I'm going to do a video on my Shift Proof channel on YouTube, and also put it in the community. And that is also a big thing. Allostatic load. If you are listening to this, I would advise that you go and check it out, because that talks in quite a lot of detail about how the body holds stress and how this can slowly build. So, first thing, you have to look after yourself. The next is yes, we do deal with people who who we see have trivial issues. Now, I want the empathetic part of me says, yes, that's really, really bad. We might not think it's bad, but that is really, really bad for that person. The other part of me feels like you yeah, like this person said, sometimes you feel like you should tell people, fucking grow up, like get a grip. It's not that bad. Listen, there's worse things in the world happening out there. You can't find your fucking phone, or you've lost your phone, or your fucking boyfriend's had a go at you over sleeping with his best mate. You know what I mean? Like just shit like that. People, we look at people's circumstances, and it's very easy to walk in there and go, "You need to sort yourselves out." But that's obviously why they call us, because they're incapable of sorting themselves out. I think a lot of people now have to be. I think the society's become very feminized in the sense of it's, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but men are told, okay, men need to cry more, men need to show the feelings more. It's okay to not be okay, and if something is difficult and bad, then that's really, really sad. And we almost encourage people to lean into that discomfort and lean into that pain, rather than say, no, okay, well, yes, things are shit, but you have to deal with your own emotions. Not saying, of course, don't seek help, because fucking hell, if you are on the verge of an absolute mental breakdown, definitely go and seek help. But the little things that happen each day, you've just got to have a bit of robustness about you. There's something in Buddhism which says, someone approaches the Buddha and says, "How do I get rid of my problems?" And he says, "Well, you'll never have no problems. You just how to mitigate against getting your 89th problem." I'm butchering this, of course, but essentially the thought thinking behind it is, it doesn't matter how rich or how wealthy or how affluent or whatever you get, you will always have problems. Those problems can obviously change depending on how wealthy you are, and depending on your individual circumstances, health, money, everything else, and family, of course, but you will always have problems. So one is understanding that you will always have problems. You'll never be free from problems. And I'm a big fan of stoicism. The only things in life that you can control are your own emotions and your own actions. And even your own emotions is sometimes a bit of a hard one, but certainly your own actions. You can't control what other people say. You can't control what other people do. It can be a great source of frustration when we see someone doing something, or we're sat opposite someone who is behaving in such a way and we think, How the hell have you managed to get to this point? Like, be a bit more robust. You'll fall into pieces. I've worked with people like that. I've had colleagues like that as well. The slightest thing, it's, oh, I just got off sick. Oh, I can't go out today. I've got bad mental health. It's like, all right, you're probably in the wrong job then, because naturally in this job, of course, mental health is a huge issue, and we need to focus on looking after people's mental health. Due to the nature of what we deal with, we are more likely to get traumatized, more likely to suffer post-traumatic stress disorder, more likely to encounter upsetting things, and more likely to suffer empathy burnout, because we're not working in an office, we're not working in Starbucks, we're dealing with the everyday public. And when bad shit happens, who do they ring? So the uniform is not a shield. It is, if anything, a magnet for bad things. So we have to look after our mental health, to protect ourselves from the big stuff happening. But at the same time, we also need to be like, okay, well, to do this job, you need to have some form of mental robustness and mental fortitude anyway. So there's also that. Keeping a cool head on shift. Yes, well, look, it just seems like I said, allostatic load. It seems like your bucket of shit is full and overflowing. So you need to do some recovery work yourself. Now, there's a difference between relaxation and recovery, and I'll explain the two. So, if you use the analogy of that you have a bucket, and the bucket has a pressure valve, and over time, the things what happen, those one or two incidents, or you're late for work or stuff like that, three or four incidents, maybe a bit of money troubles, 6 or 7 incidents, maybe it's a breakup, it's, you've had an argument with a family member. And then, of course, there's the big 8 and 9 ones, the big significant ones, like a loss of a loved one, or someone's got, someone's terminally ill. That all goes into that bucket. Now, if you finish work and you go home and you sit on your phone all night and you watch Netflix and you have a couple of drinks, that's relaxation. That's not recovery. I'm not saying that's strictly a bad thing. To an extent, you shouldn't do that all the time, but sometimes you just want to switch your brain off. But because of the nature of the work we do, we have to protect ourselves even more. We have to make more of an effort to look after ourselves. So recovery is when you actively take care of that allostatic load and you empty that bucket. Relaxation is not adding anything else to the bucket. Recovery is actively withdrawing from the bucket, is removing things. We can recover quite simply by moving our bodies, getting out, going to the gym, going for a run, bit of cardio, even just walking the dog, a bit of sunlight. It's great. It's a glorious day outside where I am. It's cold, but it's glorious. So I'm looking forward to going for a little dog walk after I've finished chatting to you, wonderful people. Then there is the mental work as well. So I'm a massive advocate for journaling and meditation and even just voice noting yourself as well. So one thing what I advise people do, clients or people who want to speak to them on social media, is I advise people to get the thoughts from their head out. And they do that in whatever way they can. And like I said, journaling, a voice note, etc. That's always really, really good to be able to do that. Um, it's tough, and it sounds like you're suffering a bit of empathy burnout as well. And it's normal when you feel, you're suffering empathy burnout. This is classic empathy burnout. You go into people and you're the people who are, are suffering and need your help. And it's normal what people do. We go, fucking hell, sort yourselves out. Why am I here dealing with you? There's people out there who really need my help, and you're a fucking, you can't sort yourself out. But we can't control how other people react. We can't control the actions of other people. All we can do is control ourselves. And if you are suffering with empathy burnout, like I said, you need to do that work on yourself. And empathy burnout is a sign of being overworked, overstressed, and overexposure to bad things. So potentially you could speak to your supervisor and maybe have a bit of time off. Maybe if that isn't possible, I wouldn't be doing any overtime. Certainly not. You want to recover and rest as best you can. So you don't want to give more of yourself to the job. If you're feeling like this, and your empathy is basically on the floor, you feel like you don't have any, then you're going to become more reactive. You're going to become less compassionate, less empathetic, of course, because you don't have any left. But also, what you find is it will also bleed into your personal life as well. This is something that I found because I suffered really bad empathy burnout. I mean, I was still, professional, and I was empathetic when I needed to be, but I found that I was finding it difficult to actually relate to people outside of work. So, say my partner or a friend or someone come to me with a problem, and they'd be like, "It's fucking mate, grow up." But that's the empathy burnout speaking. That's that. If anything, in that situation, is when you should be compassionate and you should be thinking, "Okay, well, let's talk about it." And you are a magnet as well because there's vicarious trauma too. So people are going to tell you the most awful things what have happened to them, and you have to sit there and listen. So being a police officer or a therapist, a paramedic, etc. It's like it's like being a fucking therapist at times, isn't it? People want to tell you and offload to you all the time with the really bad things what happened to them. So you have to do more, make more of an effort to take care of yourself. There's a little decompression technique which I like and I've used it before, is box breathing. So if you go to a particularly difficult call and you're dealing with somebody, and it doesn't have to be a harrowing call, it doesn't have to be one of those, but it could be just something which is a bit more mentally taxing or emotionally taxing or quite frustrating in a way, is once you finish that call, go back into your car, maybe when you get back to the office or get back to the station, do a bit of box breathing. Just do a few rounds, 3 or 4 rounds of breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4, etc. That relaxes your nervous system, it'll quiet down your brain, and you'll feel much better as a result. And this is just one way of stopping that allostatic load, that stress build up from happening to the point where you do start suffering empathy burnout. But empathy burnout is one of those things where it's not spoken about. It seems quite heartless when someone raises it, but it is a completely normal thing, especially if like you said, you've had colleagues that have hurt themselves or taken their own lives. So yeah, thank you for that message. I hope that helps. Essentially, you need to take care of yourself if you're feeling this way. Um, it's understandable why you feel that way. Yes, some people do need to get a bit of a grip. Um, but understand that we can't control the way people act or behave. We can only control how we act and behave. And yeah. And I know someone might look at this and go, "Oh, you have to be compassionate to everybody." I agree to an extent, you are there to be compassionate and there to show compassion. But if you have no compassion left to give due to being overworked, overburdened, and giving too much empathy at times, and being regularly exposed to people who are saying they're in a really bad situation and yet you've dealt with much worse, it's that comparison thing, isn't it? Um, and it can make it difficult. And like I say, it's not a popular thing to say, but it is what it is, unfortunately. That's the nature of the beast. But yeah, thank you for sending that in. Take care of yourself. That's all I'll say. Okay, so we have a poem here. So I've actually not fully listened to this poem yet, but I told the person I'll play it.
To those that need to hear, to those that need to hear, I'm shouting now, loud and clear. I wake up on time, I do what I do. So do my colleagues, but are we backed by you? We give and we give because that's what's asked. And it doesn't make a dent, not even by half. My family ask you late again, and I reply, I'm sorry, it's not me, it's them. So to those that need to hear, to those that need to hear, I'm trying to stand up and make it bloody clear. This must stop now before it rolls over into another year. You talk and talk about what's right, loyalty, commitment, fight a good fight, but you're nowhere to be seen. You're living in a dream. Cuckoo Land is your main theme. Ironically, mental health talked about too. Betrayed is really important to you, but hypocrisy seems closer to what you do. There's no time for us to take stock. It's like you really want us to go flop. Mental health is an internal joke. Smoke and mirrors, sections are broke. So please give us some kind of hope, because the last thread is truly torn, and this thin blue line is feeling worn. The bell has been rung, but nothing's getting done. Do you need one of us to be found hung? There seems to be no listening from you. Morale is lower than a snake's bloody poo. So come on, Chief, what are you gonna do? The public needs us more and more, but it's like you're pulling from an empty drawer. We can't keep doing this anymore. But if we went on strike, you'd soon know the score, as the wolf would be knocking at your family door. So to those who need to hear, to those that need to hear, how can I put this any more clear? We've hit the political iceberg and the Titanic is us, I fear. Sinking fast, no life jackets near. How are we meant to survive out here? Why can't we have a day or two where colleagues breathe and enjoy the view? Maybe even go to the cinema on you. A simple welfare day, but you worry too much about the public's dismay. More than the troops who bear this every day. It feels you've lost sight of what's really right. Only emails from you in your ivory tower of no clue. It's sad, but it's true. This is how the troops think of you. Be more visible. Get out in a car. Shadow a section. Maybe take them to a bar. Be more personal. Don't lead from afar. The troops need to know who their leaders are. More staff are needed. More hands to the pump. Surely you see more funding is the key. Keep it simple. Ask the public's view. All they want to see is more of me and you. So to those that need to hear, to those that need to hear, am I making this bloody clear? People are breaking. It's unethical. Heart aching. And at the end of each shift, I'm left shouting and shaking. Who is listening? This line is breaking. I love the job. I'm proud too. I serve with the greatest brothers and sisters in blue. But the hours we work, no company would do. I generally think their workers would sue. We're stuck in this bureaucracy muck, and it breaks my heart to say I must call it a day. And mark my words, you will lose more the same way until political policing is held at bay. Sir Peel, I'm sure, wouldn't stand for this anymore. Get back to the Peelian heart and core. Common sense coppers is what we need more. So to those that need to hear, to those that need to hear, this is how I express my fear. And if you say you cannot hear, your failure to act will be loud and clear. Your failure to act will be loud and clear to those that need to hear.
So I intentionally didn't listen to that poem prior to listening to it just then, because I didn't want to have, like a preconceived reaction. I thought that poem was absolutely fucking fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that. I think the officer that sent that in is actually quite talented. Yeah. So it sums it up quite a lot to those that need to hear that this is an utter shit show. Mental health is not taken care of, and it actually fits in quite nicely to what we were just talking about then. So, to the officer that sent that in, I told the officer that I would play it on here. Um, yeah, well done. You've just certainly got some talent there, mate. So please continue. That was very, very good. Very, very good. And I will link the profile in the description of this video so more people can check out this person's poetry. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. It was good. That was like 3 minutes and it flew by. That was excellent. If you ask my girlfriend, to her, 3 minutes is an absolute lifetime. Stop it. Stop it, we're all friends here. Right. So, good evening. Okay. So this one is from somebody messaged in. Good evening. I saw a snippet from you guys with the fork counting prank played. So this is following a video, an episode I did, and somebody commented saying that they sent an email to a probation officer to go and count all the knives and forks. So I imagine this person's a bit of a thing. I was something of a nuisance back before. Many people lost their minds around police officer behaviour and having a bit of humour. I used to pre-write emails that I would store on my account as not to rush an opportunity when somebody would leave their computer unlocked. So this person used to prepare this shit. Okay. I would tend to create unique birthday event emails and also once sent an email from somebody's computer advertising Christmas toys for sale. The toys on offer consisted of a wide variety of splendid, yet to me obviously were quite ridiculous items, and not a real selection of gift options for sale. The gifts on offer consisted of a nude Ross Kemp action figure, an all white coloured Rubik's Cube, bags of edible marbles that may cause choking, and a bat and ball set that only included one part. The officer who had left his computer unlocked received an email shortly after this had gone out, warning him about business interests and declaring such activity as a police officer. It seemed they believed it was a genuine side hustle for an officer trying to corner the Christmas gift market on nude Ross Kemp action figures. I also had one go out for a birthday party with a theme being workers from Victorian Belgium, inviting people to a fancy dress party, but I'm not too sure that caught the imagination of the masses too well. I've also had one on this person's out. Like, never leave your fucking computer open around this person. I also had seen on the wall one day a poster for the Forces Women's Group advertising a meeting of the group to discuss different activities and subjects around women in policing. This was about 2017. Just purely for my own sense of humour and not an attack on misogyny, as it would probably be framed as now, I knocked up a men's group in policing meeting closer poster to stick up directly next to it, and it mentioned top beers from around the world, Top Gear, football, video games, and action movies, something like that. Surprisingly, that one lasted longer than I expected, but one day in the PC's admin room where I was situated, the inspector came in with a senior rank and they made a show of pointing it out, making a few comments and taking it down. I think this may have been for my benefit, as I would imagine I was suspected, but I kept my head down and wasn't asked about it. This person sounds fucking horrendous. I know a couple of cops who you'd have probably got on with, who I used to work with, and they were knobheads as well. Interesting, though. Interesting. We can have a women's thing, but not a men's thing. So, I will reserve comments on that. Actually, no, I won't. It's fucking bullshit. That's sexism. That's what it is. We're saying that we can have one for women and one for men. We can't have one for men. Absolute sexism. You know. And if anybody says, oh well, it's you can't have things for men because that's misogynistic. No, no, no. We're not saying it's anti-women. We're not talking about that. We're saying that well, men need help too. You know, we've spoke about male suicide, we spoke about men's mental health and all sorts. I know it fucks me off this. Actually, I've fucking started now, right? It fucks me off this because in one breath we want to say men need to talk more, men need to look after the mental health more, men need to, communicate more. But then as soon as somebody advertises a men's group, it gets pulled down. The women one stays up, but it gets pulled down if it's a man, if it's male. It's a double standard, and I don't like it. If it's good for one group, why is it not good for the other one? Change my mind. Change my mind. All right. So the next one. Whew, anyway, really sorry to interrupt. If you enjoy this kind of content and you want to support me and you want to see these videos before they go out anywhere else in the world, then why not become a Patreon? It costs you the price of a coffee a month. Simply scan this QR code here or click the link in the description. Support means the world. Thank you. Next one. Morning, Jay. Sat in the control room on the mental health car and I thought I'd kill some time by sending you another story. This time, one of mine, not of the another officer. November last year, I was in my area car with a colleague, and around 6 o'clock, we were sent out for concern for welfare of an elderly female around 70 years old uh, who has not been to pick up her repeat prescription for a while. We can see where this is going. The female has also not been seen by neighbours, and this is a bit of a recluse. She's also known to have put a newspaper over her windows. We arrive about 6:30 and the house is in darkness. We put the knock on and shout through the letterbox, but no response. We had a lot around the outside of the address, but could not see any signs of life. We went back to the front. Yeah, this isn't going to go in well. We shined our torches through the window and could see the female on the sofa wearing a coat and under a blanket with her eyes wide open and not moving. God, it sounds like some kind of fucking horror movie, this. We gave a few bangs at the window and called her, obviously, but we thought she was deceased. As there were no one movement or response, we updated and asked for someone to bring method of entry gear to us as we could enter the dress. After we had updated, we went back to the window to try again. As we were looking through the window again, we both saw the female's eyes close so slowly. We looked at each other and thought we might have just watched her take her last breath. Oh, God. Eventually, MOE gear arrived. Another colleague began to put the door in. The door was quite rotten, so only took a few goes to break through it. As the door caved in, we all shit ourselves. At the fucking hell, we all shit ourselves as a female was stood directly in front of us in the hallway. A perplexed look on her face when she realization sank in. I began moaning that we've destroyed her door. When we all regained composure at seeing the ghost in the hallway, my colleague just looks to her and says, "We all thought you were dead." Obviously, ever listening to the whole incident over the airways, thoroughly enjoyed our update on the lady that returned from the dead. If you don't know, you don't know, and I'm sure that if you hadn't have put the door in, then you'd have been questioned. So there's no right thing there. You did your job. You thought something bad was happening. You put the door in. You thought this poor old dear had died. You had every understanding. You even tried to raise the occupant. Didn't work. You put the door in. Turns out she was all right, which is a happy ending. This is a happy ending to this story. We're not talking about bad things here. This is a happy ending. This dear old lady was fine. Come in. So what if you broke a door and probably left her without a door all night? Come in. She's fine. Ah, I had one. I had one. It was a call what came in, and it was in like a multi-story set of flats, and there was a at the end of the corridor. There's like a really fucking bad smell coming from one of the rooms. So we're like, oh god, dead person. Absolutely. It's the first place your brain goes, isn't it? Oh, it's fucking dead. And I was thinking, remember thinking, oh, like smells don't really bother me. I've not got a great sense of smell anyway. Um, and they were like, I was like, okay, yeah, Sam, we'll go. So we went, and it was a fire door, and it was a small corridor with one flat to the left, one flat to the right. And as soon as you open that door, oh my, it was like sewage had been poured on you. It was horrific. The smell, I mean, I've dealt with death and all sorts before, the smell was something else. I didn't know anything would smell that bad. Anyway, so we tried ringing the lady whose house it was. We tried ringing her work, couldn't get through. We did some other checks and everything else. I looked through the letterbox, shouted through the letterbox. The smell was coming from this flat, and I thought, yeah, I've got to put the door in. Got to put the door in. So we got a method of entry. They tried to break the lock. That didn't work because it had one of them unbreakable locks on. So we had to do the door. We had to do the door. So we did the door. Walk in, and no dead lady. Everything was fine. The smell was actually coming from inside the wall. So obviously an animal or something had died. But from all the information I was getting was it was coming from this house, and it's what we'd been told. So then the lady got home, rang up the police, made a massive fucking complaint that the police had put a door in. And I think it was all completely justified in the end. I think I maybe got a bit of I don't know. No, I don't, why did you do that? And I told him why. And he was like, right, well, fine, you were justified. You know, it's just unfortunate that this animal died in the wall next to this lady's thing. But fucking if we didn't put the door in, she could have been there for weeks, and that wouldn't have been good either. So you screwed either way. Screwed either way. Also, just relating to some, just relating to some videos I put up recently about police not needing a warrant specifically to enter somebody's address, and the internet goes crazy. Yes, they're doing a warrant. This is a classic example of when they won't need a warrant. You would have entered under Section 17 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. Yeah, well, you have to be pursuing a suspect. No, you don't. Yeah, well, you have to, think somebody's injured inside. No, you don't. You can only enter if somebody lets you in. No, you don't. There are obviously certain criteria as to why you can and cannot enter somebody's address by. This was one of them. Okay, so I put something on my story on the Jobs Fuck podcast, Instagram. I put on the story anything you want raising on the podcast, and you guys did not disappoint. So I got told recently by management that probationers are quitting because experienced cops are too negative and not smiling enough in the office. That's bollocks. The reason why probationers are quitting is because the fucking hell, am I really going to start on this? The reason why probationers are quitting is because there's not enough support in the job. They get thrown into the fire too quickly and they're not properly supported. They're not properly trained. Um, and they aren't prepared properly in training of what the reality will be like, shift work, working among yourself and everything else. Why did they not train you and, give you any kind of tips for well-being and how to manage sleep and stuff during training? They definitely didn't for me. You think that as a shift worker you would have some training in your initial training on, how to work shifts and how to look after yourself. That doesn't exist. It didn't exist from now and then. But to put it down to, oh, the older cops are too negative and don't smile enough. Yes, there are grumpy older bastards sometime in division and on block, and those people do exist. Those people do exist. I've worked with a few of them. Funny enough, they were often the best bobbies. Uh, they were at times there was some who was obviously very fucking lazy, and forgot how to pick up a pen at times and always prefer to do the area search rather than go and see the victim. You know exactly the kind of people I'm on about. I bet while I'm saying that, you've got someone in your mind who you're thinking of. I know I have. But to say that's the reason why people are leaving, that's not. That just shows the disconnect, doesn't it, between the senior leadership team and officers on the ground. They're going, "What? Everything's fine. It's fine. Well, I don't know why people are leaving. It's your problem." No, no, the buck stops with you guys because you're the ones in fucking charge. If a ship's sinking, look at its captain. That's what I'd say. Right. The fact that the position of supervisors is flawed and there is favoritism, and that favoritism is ruining frontline police morale. This is when people get promoted who probably do jujitsu with the superintendent, or they play golf with somebody, or they are friends with somebody, and they get promoted more. I also know of an officer who explained to me recently that there was an officer who went for a promotion. They didn't get it, even though they are exceptionally good. And the person who did get the position was actually sleeping with one of the managers who was in charge of it. And they were at was fucking terrible at the position they were going to go for. But, guess who got it? So nepotism is rife in any leadership roles. It doesn't have to be the police. It doesn't have to be the public sector. It can be the private sector. It can be any kind of, organization, corporate world. It's just how it works. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way, but it is. This one relates slightly to the poster thing I just mentioned. So how men are treated so poorly, violence against women and girls is a way scorned women make allegations against innocent men. Don't completely agree with that. I can see why some people think that. I've spoken before about how domestic abuse, male victims of domestic abuse can be abused by proxy by this thing of violence against women and girls, where the courts and the police automatically take the women's side, or certainly in a lot of cases, from what I've seen, seem to. And men make up 40% of all domestic violence victims. So by focusing on violence against women and girls, we are actually ignoring 40% of the victims in there. I did an interview on my main channel with Rachel Williams, who is a fucking fantastic woman. I actually met her through the job. She did some training, and people might have had the training she did. I did some training with her, and I really and I messaged him because I was obviously mad on DA. I really liked. I was really invested in it and dealing with the cases and stuff. So I had that training offer, and as a result of that, I got chatting to her. We did an interview, which went on my Patreon at the time because the job were dead funny about me when what I was talking about social media. Funny enough, domestic violence, which apparently was a massive thing with the police at the time. But they didn't want little old me raising awareness. They'd rather somebody get assaulted, get locked up, and then the police would get the stat and everything else. But I spoke about that enough. I might speak about it more at some point, but yeah. So the violence against women and girls thing, it prioritizes violence against women and girls. Of course it does. That's the whole ethos about it, and it looks good on paper, doesn't it? For the most vulnerable in society, we're taking care of them, but equally by missing 40% of the demographic too. As a victim of DA, and I know many men who have been victims of DA, we are focusing on part of the problem, not the whole problem. And I don't know why it seems unpopular, why people don't want to pour the resource and the time and attention into male victims of DA, but it is what happens, unfortunately. There are also scorned women make allegations against innocent men. It does happen. It does happen. Abusive women will use family courts. They will use the police. They will use the court system against men, social services against men. It happens. It happens quite a lot. Also, if a male is bigger and stronger than the female and the male reports it, is less likely to be believed. Whereas if the woman reports it, certainly if she's shorter in stature and more petite, even though she's the abuser, she is more likely to be taken seriously. It is what it is, unfortunately. It needs to change. It needs to change. And I do talk about this quite a lot. I certainly cover it in my book. And I certainly talk about it in my next book, what's coming out called The System's Fucked, which, if you sign up to my main newsletter, which I will link in the description of this video, you will be informed when that comes out. All right, so let's do one more. Okay, so between calls on a wet and cold winter Tuesday night and looking for our local car thieves who were out and about, spot three people in a phone box to describe, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, for fuck's sake. Spot three people in a phone box and decide to see what's going on. All three, two males, one female, were completely naked. So we get out the car and amble up. So, anything happening tonight, folks? Not really. We're just out getting a bit of air. Yeah, all right. We want to get a bit of air in the back of our car with some soccer suits on. Yes, please. Turns out they had been swapping partners, and the missing lady wasn't enjoying it that much as the others and chased them out of the house with a belt and a bad attitude. They were hiding in the phone box trying to work out what to do when we showed up. We sorted it out quietly while trying not to laugh, as one of the males was a very well known member of the community. All right, okay. See, these fucking upper people in the upper echelons of society, when money and power becomes boring, what do you do? Hedonism. Ah, pure hedonism. That's fucking funny, that. Oh, God. Oh, no. So I said there would be the last one, but I've just got one more. I've just got one more. Back in 2002, had a good Section 5 RTA. So, drink drive, I believe that is. I was road traffic stuff was never my forte, but I believe it's drink drive. Had a good drink drive on the A5 on Anglesey early doors. Stopped a white Vauxhall Astra van, swerving all over the shop on a straight stretch by a road. Blue lighted and eventually pulled over and hit the curb. Pissed as fucking it. Walked to the driver's side door, um, and I had to stand back in shock. The driver had a pint glass in his right hand. Oh God. The driver had a pint glass in his right hand, which, to be fair, was three quarters full. His trousers around his ankles, and he was steering the van with his bare knees. On his passenger seat was some dirty clothing, and he had two naughty magazines open. And with his left hand, he still had in his hand his erect penis. So when when women say men cannot multitask, this guy deserves a medal. Suffice to say, he blew two away, at which my roadside record, and remained so until I retired over 2 years ago. He should have gotten done for fucking exposure as well, like, or indecent. I don't know. Is there an offence to wank while driving? You know? Oh God. Ah, oh, that's funny. That's horrendous, but funny. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, you've been fantastic. Send me these stories, send them in. I'm going to go and bleach my eyes and have a lie down. Until next time, make sure you like and subscribe, follow the podcast, give it a rating, tell somebody about it. And as always, stay safe. Message in jobs fucked podcast on Instagram and the job pod25@gmail.com. Send me your stories. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. Have a great day. Stay safe out there. Thank you for everything you do. Love you. See you later. Fucking hell.